Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this week's weekly live attorney chat here at Immigration for Couples. I'm attorney Megan Pastrana and my firm Immigration for Couples. If you are new to our channel, our firm is dedicated exclusively to helping couples across the nation and across the world and navigating the U.S. immigration process. And so I see we have a lot of individuals that are joining us here live. I'd like if everybody could let me know, can you hear me and see me okay? My mic was throwing a tantrum here this morning. And so I just want to make sure if everybody can, if you can just let me know. It looks like somebody let me know that they can hear me and see me. So perfect. Then we're all good. So again, Immigration for Couples, our firm dedicated exclusively, just as it sounds, to helping couples across the nation and world and navigating the U.S. immigration process. And I know from personal experience, having gone through an immigration process with my husband, that it can feel very overwhelming, right, at the beginning, and actually throughout the entire process. It's just an overwhelming process, and it's really important. I want all of you to know that you are not alone in your journey. We have created a free resource center at immigrationforcouples.com to provide you with clarity and support and guidance in your journey. We've made all of those resources with so much love and care and consideration for all of you. And I do have a webinar that I highly recommend. I created it for those of you who are just starting out in your immigration journey to understand the alphabet soup of K1 fiancé visas and CR1 spouse visas, and to really understand what are your options, what are your next steps, how to win your case, and not just how to win your case, but how to have a successful process in terms of your mindset and your relationship. Okay. All right. So I see we have a lot of regulars here with us. So Ginger, you are usually our first our first guest, and so you know the drill. If everybody can let me know, where are you at? I see others who also are have been here before and know the drill too. So great to have all of you with us, and welcome to all of you who are new, and that this is your first Facebook Live with us. Good morning to you too, Robert. Great to have you with us. California, we have a New York, a Maine, a Connecticut, a lot of East Coasters. Lisa, great to have you with us. Now you're in Vegas. You're all over. Lisa's all different places. I always like to see, where is Lisa at this Tuesday? All right. Hi, Mark, and you're from Ohio. Good. Okay. And Anna, I see you are here with us today. I did see your question, and so I was actually going to lead with that question because you had posted that after we announced this week's live. So I'm going to start here, Anna, with your question, since that was posted last week, and then I will go through the questions in the order that I received them. A few of you, I didn't get to your questions last time, and I did make videos that were posted on YouTube for those, but I will do my best to get through everyone's questions. If you have questions, just please throw them in the comments. And I realized for those of you who are on Instagram that your comments are not always coming through. So please do leave your questions on Instagram too. I will have to toggle over, but I will get to your questions as well. All right. So Anna, you were saying in your question, on your comment last week, that basically you are going through the removal of conditions process, and that you are needing to be able to travel after that's filed. And you want to know, is that safe? Is it safe to travel after you file your removal of conditions application? And the short answer, like many answers to legal questions, is it really depends. There are always risks in traveling while a case is pending, but in general, traveling on a green card after removal of conditions is legally permissible. That certain factors that would determine whether or not it is risky to do so would be your prior immigration history. If an individual has certain criminal history, those would be factors to consider, and something that I would discuss, with a client about whether or not, it is safe. But in general, to answer your question, it is legally permissible to travel after you file your removal of conditions. So for those of you who are just in the middle of your process and don't have a green card yet, you're probably like, what is removal of conditions? What is all of this? So if you go through an immigration process with your fiance or spouse, if you get an approval and receive your green card, before you have been married for 2 years, immigration will provide you with or give you a conditional green card based on your marriage. So it's a 2-year conditional green card, and you have to file to remove that condition before the 2-year mark, in the 90-day window before the 2-year mark to be exact. And once you file that removal of conditions, immigration will give you an automatic extension of 4 years. You have to wait to receive that automatic extension of your green card. And then when you travel, you would have an expired green card and then this extension notice of 4 years. The reason that immigration gives you the 4-year extension is because it's taking them years to make a decision on the removal of conditions application. And so Anna's question is about whether or not it's safe to travel after receiving that notice. And so that's basically what I'm saying, is that legally that's what that notice allows you to travel, but there are certain factors that could make it more risky for you to do so. All right, so hopefully that helps answer your question, Anna, and I'm glad you were able to be with us today. All right, I'm going to check on Instagram here. I think we're good. So let me see who has the next question in line. Okay, so Natalie, looks like you have a question about the Utah marriage. And so the Utah marriage is a virtual marriage, and much of immigration law, it was written before certain technological advances were even conceived to be possible. And one of those is the virtual marriage. So this was something when immigration laws were written about eligibility requirements for marriage. The virtual marriage wasn't something that had been considered because it didn't exist. There is something called a proxy marriage. Proxy marriages have been around since the time of noble people, kings and queens and dukes and duchesses, that allowed for a marriage to take place even if the couple was living, in 2 separate kingdoms. So proxy marriages have continued into today. And what I have seen in my practice of immigration law is that the Utah marriage is often looked at by immigration as a proxy marriage. I disagree with that, but that's kind of their position. And so the virtual marriage, we help many couples successfully go through the immigration process with the virtual marriage. But there are certain additional requirements that we will make sure our couples complete. And that is, you're right, that consummation requirement. And so does it have to happen in a certain time frame? Not necessarily. Again, this is a very new area of immigration law in terms of this virtual marriage, because the virtual marriage was created right before COVID, very perfectly. And it helped a lot. It had ramifications or implications rather bigger than the person who was creating the virtual marriage could even thought of. And so it's been used by a lot of individuals in the immigration process. And so, yes, it's really important to prove that consummation requirement. I typically encourage couples that before you go through the virtual marriage, that we talk about, your plans for marriage. Ideally, you're together for that virtual marriage. If you're not, then a consummation requirement would come into play. And no, you don't have to meet in a certain time frame. The sooner the better, but also, making sure that you have solid proof too of that meeting after the marriage as soon as reasonably possible. I would, encourage you to schedule a consultation with an attorney, myself, or another immigration attorney to talk about the specifics of your case. Here, I'll throw in the website, immigrationforcouples.com, and you can schedule a consultation, and I'd be happy to speak with you in private one-on-one so we can make sure that you have a really solid strategy for your case since you have done the virtual marriage. But in general, hopefully that helps answer your question, that it is a good idea to meet afterwards, and really the sooner the better. Okay, thanks for your question, Natalie. Those virtual marriages are so popular. So it's great to have you with us. Edlene, maybe. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. That's a very pretty name. Military deployment is a valid reason to expedite the application. Does the same apply to non-military USC? So expedite requests will really depend on which phase of the case you're wanting to expedite. So if you have a case that will have multiple phases, one phase is with USCIS, one phase is with the National Visa Center, and typically one phase is with the Department of State. There are some cases that happen entirely in the US and would be USCIS. So each basically department, if you will, of immigration has its own standards for expedites. USCIS says they will expedite cases in emergency or urgent situations. They give a few examples. Military deployment could be a basis for an expedite, though I would say it's not guaranteed. It really depends on all of the factors in the case. Because if there is a military deployment and the fiance or spouse is already abroad, typically USCIS wouldn't expedite for that reason alone. There would have to be additional factors in the cumulative that rise to that level to be able to expedite the application. And so that's a long answer to say, yes, it could be possible if there's a non-military, like if it's civilian, if it's the immigrant beneficiary needing to do, actually, let me make sure I'm reading your question. Does the same apply? Oh, if it's a non-military United States citizen is what you're saying, and that will be deployed in a military base. So it's possible. It's possible. Again, expedite requests, I tell clients that it's really a Hail Mary pass, for a lack of a better way to describe it. The chances of getting an expedite request approved are very slim. Our team has definitely helped individuals to get an expedite request and get the case approved sooner for a whole bunch of different reasons. It's very fact specific. And I always provide a legal argument and supporting evidence to show, hey, this meets the standard of these, extreme or exceptional circumstances to be expedited. So the short answer is yes, it is possible. But I would need to know more details and see what are all the factors and why would this really fit into immigration, USCIS's criteria for an expedite. And again, I can throw that link in there, immigrationforcouples.com. If you'd like to speak with me in private about your specific case and your situation, I can definitely talk with you in more detail about the viability of an expedite request. Okay. And I'll definitely be honest with you based on that, the specifics of your situation, if it's a strong expedite or not. But great question. Yeah, with immigration wait times being as long as they are, expedite requests are a great tool to consider for sure. All right. Oh, okay, BJ, great to have you back with us. I know you were here before. And let's see. So you said that I handle family immigration, but what's the difference between citizenship and residency, and how do you apply for them? I love this question. Good for you to notice that detail of that difference between citizenship and residency, because a lot of individuals, if they haven't gone through an immigration process, they use the word residency, permanent residency, and citizenship interchangeably, but it's not. They're not. They're two completely different statuses that a person can have. And so, yes, my firm handles family immigration, but we also handle applications for naturalization, for citizenship, for children, and also for adults. There's different processes for each type of case. And so the difference is that a residency is what you probably hear is a green card. So when you hear people say green card, that is lawful permanent resident status. Why do they call it a green card? Because the color of the card has always been green. And so residency is your ability to permanently live in the US, live and work. You can drive, go to school. You can be fully integrated in the US. It allows you to live here. It does have some restrictions and also requirements. So restrictions include not being able to vote. You're not eligible to vote in the US elections. And then you also have to maintain your physical residence in the US. So you can't take trips more than 6 months. And if you need to take longer trips, you have to ask for permission to do so. Because if you leave on your green card and live abroad for a long period of time, over 6 months to a year, and then you try to come back, they can consider you've abandoned your status. So that's residency. And then if you want to go to an even more permanent status, that's US citizenship. So that's a US passport. So that's the difference. You go from that permanent residence green card to a US passport. So, and then the process is typically you have to go through a process to receive residency first. And then from there, after 3 or 5 years, depending on whether or not you married a US citizen, you'll be eligible for the naturalization process. And again, I know I've told all of you about the free resource center a lot of times, but I created it for a reason because there's so much helpful information. And if you go to our resource center at immigrationforcouples.com, you will see that we have different tabs that go over the green card process, and then a whole section about naturalization and citizenship. Okay, so there you go, BJ. Hopefully that helps answer your question. All right. Let's see who's next in line, and let me toggle over here. Okay, so I'm going to toggle over to Instagram really quick here. Looks like Shelby maybe, or Shelb _S. You're wanting information about religious exemption for vaccines. So essentially you're asking about vaccination waivers. So part of the green card process, to be able to receive a green card or permanent resident status, you have to go through a medical exam. And that medical exam also requires that you receive vaccinations or prove what vaccinations you have received. So some individuals, for religious or moral reasons, are opposed to receiving vaccines in any form, that they don't receive vaccines at all. And then if that is the case, then there is a waiver of that requirement. So you'll still have to complete the medical exam, but if that waiver is approved, then you are eligible to be able to still receive your green card without having to receive the vaccines. So we've done, our firm has done many vaccine waivers successfully for clients if they have religious or moral objections to receiving vaccines. And so there's a whole waiver process that allows for that. Okay, and we'd be happy to help you if that's something that you are needing. Great question. All right, who is next in line? And let's see. And I'd love it if everybody, if you are enjoying today, if this is helpful, if you're all staying awake, if you could give a thumbs up or a heart, or just let me know that since I can't see all of you, that's helpful to know that this is helpful for all of you and that you're enjoying today's session. All right. So we have Master. So you're asking, can you be over the government poverty guideline to get your fiance here, but a little short during the readjust status? You must. Okay. So basically, I'm understanding your question is if about the affidavit of support. I'm understanding you're asking if you're close, can you still basically petition for your fiance? Are you able to still get to that finish line of the green card? So for the green card process, part of that process involves an affidavit of support, and that is where you have to show that the immigrant beneficiary will not be a public charge. In other words, that they won't need government assistance. This is done through the affidavit of support, and this is done through showing how much the petitioner makes. If you are close, if you are on the line, there are other options to potentially use your assets. So 12 months of financial account statements like retirement accounts and things of that nature, or if you own a home. So there's ways, if you're close, that you can use those assets. And Julie might be able to throw in a video that I've made so many videos on affidavit of support because it is a complex beast and I receive a lot of questions on that. But assets would be something that we help our clients really to round out and make that application as strong as possible. And you really need to be at that requirement for the fiance and for the fiance visa interview, and then also for the green card process. You want to have enough for both. You want to, make sure that you meet that guideline, that I-864P poverty guideline that you're referring to. And then another option is a joint sponsor as well. So Julie will throw that video in. All right. So Julia, great. Congratulations. That's awesome. Now you are one day closer. Okay, let's see who's next. So USCIS approved your petition that was submitted in March. Congratulations. That's awesome. The notice date on the approval letter is 7/9. It's been over 30 days, and you sent NBC a status inquiry. Okay. I mean, if you sent it to NBC last Thursday, it's going to take at least a solid week or two for them to respond. So you did the right thing. That's good. If you get that petition approved and then you haven't heard from the National Visa Center, it's good to, after the 30-day mark, poke them. That's what we do for our clients. but do give them time to respond. It can take, a few weeks. If you don't hear from them within another week or two, you can always submit, another inquiry. But typically it's going to take at least a week, if not 2 weeks, for them to respond. Yeah, this is a good question, Natalie. So yes, it can take longer depending on the person's country of origin. And yes, we have a lot of clients in Pakistan, and it does typically take longer than other countries, like, for example, the United Kingdom. So that is true. It can take longer. And each country kind of has its own flavor too. There can be additional document requirements, additional hoops to jump through, but that's accurate. Going to make sure we're good on the Instagram side. Looks like it. All right. And that's awesome, William. Hello to you too. I think that's so nice. Sometimes I will say pause and kind of look around. I know you can't see each other, but we do have quite a few people, almost 50 people with us here live. And so it's really helpful to pause and say, hey, sometimes I might have family and friends who don't understand why this process is so complex, and don't understand what I'm going through. And it's really nice to look around and see, hey, I'm not alone. Others, are going through the process too, or others have successfully gotten through the process. So, and that's why we wanted to create this community for everyone. Okay, so Mark, Kathy got to the United States last week on a K1. Congratulations. This is great hearing all of this positive news here today. So yes, when you enter the country, typically you will have a sealed envelope that says do not open, and or a medical exam. Typically that will be inside, and they will take that from you. Customs will take that from you, and typically they don't give you any kind of receipt or confirmation. So yes, that is common. But great that you're both together. Look forward to hearing updates on wedding and all of that good stuff. Thanks for sharing. Okay. Okay, so Julia, with the fiance visa, I really encourage you to check out our free resource center that I have listed below. And the free resource center, I go through the process in detail. All right, I go through every step. So it looks like that's what your questions are. You have a couple questions here. So definitely check out that free resource center at immigrationforcouples.com. Oh, and that's listed on there as well. Julie threw it in there for everyone. We have, okay, awesome. So William, I have some other individuals telling us where they're at. That's awesome. Awesome. I have another New Yorker and another Florida. Yay. Good morning, Teresa. Finally got to one. Well, we're happy to have you here. It's great to see you. Okay. So it looks like you filed your application. Congratulations on that. And you got a receipt number. How long do you have to wait? So wait times we're seeing right now for our clients with the fiance visa, we've had some that have been approved in a month, some that's taking a few months. So it really will just depend, but wait times have definitely decreased for sure. But congratulations on getting it filed. Okay. So great to have you with us, hopefully. So parent petition for El Salvador. How long is the wait? So typically what we're seeing for our clients from El Salvador, from start filing the petition through interview, about 18 months, give or take. And then the 212 applications, yes, they do say about 30 months. The 212 applications will typically be filed in the jurisdiction in the state where you are living, or where that case is processing rather. And so wait times are really all over the board. We've had some approved in as little as a year, and others that do take closer to that 30-month mark. So yes, great questions. Okay. You're welcome, Anna. I'm glad you were able to be with us. Okay. So if the NVC, let's see what. So can you transfer your case to a different consular post? Yes, you can. And every U.S. embassy and consulate has their own unique requirements about who can have their interview there. And so you actually have to put in a formal request and you have to meet their requirements. Some countries are much more strict, even though it is all US immigration. But some countries are more strict and they won't allow transfers at all. Others will if you meet certain requirements, if you have a certain status in that other country. So it is possible. It just will depend on those certain factors. Yeah, so I like your name, Trying to Figure It Out. A good title. It's what everybody's trying to do in the immigration process. So if something happened and the relationship ended, and you filed and you've paid the filing fees, do you need to do something to end the process so it's not open-ended? So I'm sorry to hear that. That it will depend on your case type. It is always good to, notify immigration, but you need to talk with an immigration attorney before doing that because you want to make sure that there really are no options available. Better understand your situation and to properly advise you, I have to talk with you privately. But in general, yes, you do, like, exactly, you have the right idea. You don't want to have any loose ends. You don't want to just abandon the application. You want to let immigration know, what happened, and that you're needing to withdraw the application. But again, definitely speak with an immigration attorney before doing that. Oh, we have a Vancouver and Romania. Great to have you with us, Aaron. I like your photo. It's beautiful with the sunset. Okay. So, Sarah, do you need a specific document from the National Visa Center to obtain the police report, or are there special documents needed from the police in my home country for this process? So police clearance reports are a required part of the immigration process, and you typically will have to provide a police report for any country that you've lived for more than 6 months over the age of 16. Again, as I've said many times in today's session, every U.S. embassy and consulate kind of has their own unique requirements, and so you'll definitely want to check with their requirements as to what police clearance reports you will need. And then the police certificates, those are from each country where you've lived. So that is really determined by that specific country or that government as to how to obtain it. So like how you obtain a police certificate in the Philippines is totally different than how you would in Mexico. So you'd have to look at those country specific requirements. Okay. Great question, Sarah. So does the hardship waiver cover countries not issuing travel visas for the meeting requirement? So there is a waiver of the in-person meeting requirement for fiancé visas. I have successfully represented clients in obtaining those, but they have to be for very specific reasons. And it is possible, if there is not a way, if there really is no legally permissible way for both of you to meet, it could be possible. The hardship waiver, though, is it is something a little different. There are some things called provisional waivers and waivers of forgiveness, but the short answer is yes, it could. Like a lot of questions I've been asked today, it will be very, very fact specific. So if you'd like to talk about your situation in more detail, I'm happy to meet with you and we can talk about whether or not there's any possibility for you to meet in a third country. That's something to look at as well. But if there's really no possible way to meet, then looking at that waiver of the 2-year in-person meeting is something to definitely consider. Okay. Hi. I hope everybody's having a good day. Thanks for joining us. Let me check over here on Instagram. I have some people here with us live, and I just want to make sure I'm not missing any questions over there. All right. Oh, yeah. What is the wait time for Nigeria for interviews? Long, unfortunately. A solid year. For fiancé visas, you having to get in and check on a regular basis for an interview to become available, and often that will take months. For spouse visas, you're looking at a solid year wait. So, all right. I have a little bit more time here. I'm trying to get through as many questions as I can. If not, like I said, I will make videos that we can put on YouTube answering your questions after the fact. or you can join us next week and I'll be happy to answer your questions then. I'll do my best here. Yep. Unfortunately, that's common. If your I-130 petition is being actively reviewed, those are taking a solid 12 months for our spouse visa cases and our family-based cases. It's common. It says actively reviewed for a long time. Actively reviewed for immigration means you're in a stack, you're in a line, it's in the queue to be reviewed. It doesn't actually always mean that an immigration officer is like literally at their desk looking at your application, unfortunately. So yes, that's common. Okay, so your husband's in another country and he received papers to make correction. One area has a place for his signature. It shows overseas. Does he have to sign it also? So that's a great question for our petition cases for spouse visa petitions. Sometimes it's not possible for individuals to sign, and so on one of the forms, it is allowed to that we can write overseas for that particular signature. You cannot, please know, you can't do that for all forms. But in some instances, it is possible to write overseas. And then in that case, the person wouldn't have to actually sign. So great question, though. So you finally got the letter from the National Visa Center. However, it is addressed to my fiance, the beneficiary, not me, the petitioner. Did they make a mistake? No. Sometimes typically actually they will send it to only the immigrant beneficiary for the fiance visa. We always ask that they send it to our office and to the petitioner, but immigration kind of likes to do whatever they want to do. So it's good that she received it, but that's common. All that matters is that one of you received it. So, and if immigration makes a mistake, it's really hard to get them to acknowledge the mistake. So, but no, as long as you have it, you're good. All right. Unfortunately, no, it's not at present moment. There are some fee waivers that are available for petitions based on income. So there is a fee waiver process for some application types. So, you can check that out and see if you qualify. But USCIS does have in place a fee waiver process for some forms. So if you can't afford the government fee, you can ask for a fee waiver. So might check out USCIS fee waivers. Okay, so Luna Vida, let's say that you marry your fiance and start the process with my firm. Is it a good idea for me to study in another country while waiting for my interview date? So we would be more than happy to help you with the process, first and foremost. And then, yes, it is possible to do that. We have a lot of clients who, well, during the wait, they might have studies or work or something that needs to be completed in another country. And so that's definitely possible. And we will definitely help you to navigate if that's viable. Sometimes that can be better. We can try to have interviews moved to a different place. It will really depend on specifics, but I'd be happy to speak with you in a strategy call and we can talk about your specific case and the implications of studying in another country. But in general, we have clients do that all the time. It's really important to try to keep living your life in the middle of the immigration process. Lisa, that's a great question. No, they would not be. And we've actually represented a lot of couples in that situation. Or for individuals who are on the spectrum and, autistic. So no, it would not be frowned upon. The standard is that you have a real relationship based on love. Immigration has their very rigid parameters of what they define as love and having joint finances and things of that nature. But I always tell couples, I want you to be your unique you and let us tell your story of love. Real love, you can definitely meet that standard with immigration. Sometimes you have to. Immigration has certain red flags or certain very narrow ways that they look at things. But, we help immigration see, look, there is love at the center of this union, and that's all that matters. So great question. All right. I'm glad. You're very welcome. I love to nerd out on immigration law. It's definitely my calling and work in the world for sure. So I'm glad it's been helpful for you. I'm glad you like the resource center. That's been many, many years of work. So I'm glad you checked that out. You are very welcome also. I'm glad that that was helpful. All right. So, and let me also, okay, great. Marcelo, I see your question in Insta, and I will toggle over to that momentarily. So, Michael, you are getting married to someone in Nigeria. Is it ethical to get married there and apply for the fiance visa, or to have her come here opposed to doing the marriage visa? So I'm so glad you're asking this question. Before you get married, I do definitely encourage you to speak with an immigration attorney about the specifics of your case. And I'm not just saying that because I'm an immigration attorney and want your business. I promise. I'm telling you that because one of the top things that couples will tell me if they meet with me after they get married is, oh, I wish I would have met with you sooner to better understand my options, especially for this specific case. So if you get married, and the reason that, people will be like, oh, I wish I would have known, is because once you get married, you close the door to that fiance visa option. Because if you are legally married, then you're not eligible for that fiance visa process. So yes, that's the answer. If you get married, then that fiance visa isn't an option. And if you're not ready to schedule a consultation, or if you don't want to schedule a consultation, that's fine. At least, please, at a minimum, check out the resource center and watch the webinar that I created that goes over the different options. Okay. So I'm glad you're asking before doing though. Yeah, Kenya, we have a lot of clients from Kenya. Wait time, very long. You're looking at a solid about 14, 16 months, give or take. Unfortunately, it's one of the longer posts for waiting, so that's pretty normal. All right. Oops. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Marcelo. I know I told you you were going to be next. So you are next. So you said regarding the estimated time on the USCIS website, is it reliable? Thank you very much. So is the USCIS wait times on the website reliable? Sort of. I mean, they give you a good estimate, and that's about it. It's an estimate. We have cases that come in way faster and then can take longer. It really is just an average. About 80% of cases are processed in that time. So the other 20% could take longer or less, but it's a good benchmark. It's a good reference point. So all right, I'm going to try to do 2 more questions, and then I do need to jet. Busy bee today, as always. Yes, and Linda, I would definitely encourage you to check out the free resource center as well. I dive into this topic in more detail. Yes, removal of conditions comes before the citizenship process, so that has to be filed first. And then so long as you're eligible, then citizenship can be filed after that, the year after that. Hi, Maria. It's great to have you back with us again. And so you're through the process of adjustment of status, and you received your biometrics appointment next week. So the great question. Everybody has great questions this week and always. So biometrics is just part of the process, and it doesn't necessarily mean anything about the interview being waived. Biometrics is just a required part of the process. If they already have your fingerprints, they'll tell you the biometrics appointment's waived. Otherwise, if they need updated fingerprints, they'll call you in for that. It doesn't signal anything about the interview, though, unfortunately. Fingers crossed, though, that you get an interview waiver. Many of our clients have been able to. We've helped them prepare and submit very strong applications to get that interview waived. So best of luck to you. I'm glad it was very helpful. Oh, I'm glad that's helpful for you, Natalie. Thank you for the feedback. I have a lot of really nice comments. Everybody's given a lot of love today. That's very appreciated. You're welcome. Good. Well, good morning. Great to have you back with us. And I said I would do another question here. Let's see if I can. Okay. Yeah, for sure. I'd be happy to speak with you privately as well. You're welcome to schedule on our website, or you can call our 317-247-5040 number below, and Lisa will help get you on my calendar. Okay. So Julian, great question. So lovely to have you with us again here this week. So once a person receives their green card, They are eligible to travel outside of the US, just no trips more than 6 months. And if you do have to take the longer trip, then you'll need to ask for permission first. Okay. But yeah, the green card allows you to live permanently in the US and then travel internationally. It's freedom. Yeah, so what do immigration officers do with medical file because we never got a copy of the result? So if you did a fiance visa, they should have given you a vaccination worksheet. That's all they will give you. If they did not give you the vaccination worksheet, you need to call the clinic and ask for a copy of the vaccination worksheet, but they will not give you typically they won't give you the medical file. You can ask for a copy, but often it's the medical exams in a sealed envelope. Sometimes you can ask for a copy, but typically they won't provide you with that, just the vaccination. Looks like I got everybody on Insta. I do need to jet. You're very welcome. All right. Oh, Maria, great to have you with us. Good morning to you too. It's so lovely to see a lot of familiar faces that come on a regular basis. So you're very welcome. Glad it was helpful. All right. I'm going to jet. Lovely spending time with all of you. I will be back next Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern time. I will go through these other questions that I didn't get to today. And who knows, you might see a video on your question later this week or early next week. If not, then I will see you all next week and I can answer your questions then. All right, everyone. Have a fantastic rest of your week. Take care. Bye.